In the 50-year mortgage, you are paying basically only interest for decades. You could get a house at 40 and at 60 still own like 2% of the house. Welcome to my brand new setup. I just built this here in Japan. Listen, we didn't encounter too much flight trouble leaving America. We were worried about it happening on the way back. So me and the Lemonade Stand boys made some calls and we got this shutdown ended. We got the Democrats to flip and cave because we don't want to have any problems with our flights. Let's do high level. The Senate needed 60 votes to pass a spending bill. There's not enough Republicans. There's not enough Democrats. Nobody gets 60 votes. The Democrats held strong, didn't flip, got to a shutdown. Their main contention was that they wanted to extend the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Basically the stuff that makes your premiums for Obamacare cheaper. And they both head to head, no movement. Nobody making any progress. They weren't even, no side was even really negotiating. Now, both parties, Republicans and Democrats, they both pointed fingers and they wanted the public to blame the other party. But then something very interesting just happened. After a month plus of this shutdown, and again, it's starting to get bad. After 30 days, it gets exponentially bad. In the political battle, it was like very clear people were blaming Trump more. So it was working. And even Trump in private, he's talking to Republicans like, hey, we're getting killed out there. Now, it is bad for America to have the shutdown go on. But if you're gonna commit to it and it's working, then it is crazy to find out that yesterday, 8 Democrats flipped. And now the shutdown is not yet ended, but about to end it. These guys flip. Now, the unique thing about all these voters here for the Democrat Party is that none of them is up for election anytime soon. So the will of the voters to punish them for caving is like impossible to enforce. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they both voted against the bill. They said these guys were a splinter cell, but because it's so coordinated to be a specific group of Democrats, it feels more like a way that they could pick and choose a few key votes to end the shutdown while allowing everyone else to avoid the blame. So if you're Chuck Schumer and you're the head of the DNC and you're like, I didn't approve this, like this is a bad idea, that even if you're telling the truth, it's a sign of incompetence. It's a sign that you can't get your fucking house in order. Or worse than that, you have literally planned and coordinated a way to undermine what people actually want. The way I saw it described is like Democrats, yet again, find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Now, there's another level to it. The Democrats got basically nothing. They got no concession. All they got was a promise to have a vote about the healthcare subsidies in 1 month in December. Now think about that, first of all. You know that if they're not going to vote to give it to you now during the shutdown, they're certainly not going to give it to you a month later when you have no leverage, obviously. But there's a bit of a political game going on, okay? They know they're not going to get it in a month. Their only goal with the vote in a month is to show the public the Republicans openly voting against it. And it's just about healthcare. Because I think that Chuck Schumer thinks that in 2026, having Americans' healthcare be terrible will help them win the election. A lot of people are going to start seeing their monthly premiums go way, way up, especially old people who vote in massive numbers. The average person is not paying attention to what the details of what each side is voting for or caring about. They don't know. But when they feel this bill go up, and there's been a vote specifically on this bill on healthcare, it creates a lot of momentum for campaign ads in 26 in individual states that they can bring back the healthcare subsidies. Your job is not to play 5D chess with people's lives so they're mad enough to vote against the current party in power. Your goal is to govern. Everyone's goal should be to make the citizens' lives better. Donald Trump, I found a tweet as old as 2017 saying, despite what you hear in the press, healthcare is coming along great. We are talking to many groups and it will end in a beautiful picture. And then in 2019, Trump says GOP will be the party of healthcare, provides no plan. And then in 2024,
Obamacare was lousy healthcare. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our population less money and be better healthcare than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it.
That is a great magical plan.
But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
Now he is president and they still don't have a plan. I got a whole separate thing I was talking about with affordability and how Trump is really missing the moment on, really misreading the room on affordability. He's coming out there and saying like affordability is not a problem, it's a hoax. Anyway, so the other small thing is that I think there was a genuine fear Trump was not going to cave on the ACA subsidies and was in fact going to force through the removal of the filibuster, which would allow the Republicans to get a lot of things passed without the 60 votes. And I think there was a bit of a blink on that. I don't think the way it worked out is pretty good for anybody, which is just how the American government likes to work. Softbank, Nvidia sell. You guys don't know Softbank. Masayoshi-san, second biggest company in Japan, sold like $8 billion worth of Nvidia stock all at once yesterday. If it was anyone else, I would say, whoa, what do they see? Well, Softbank is most likely about to take that $8 billion they got and punt it into AI companies that will buy Nvidia chips. It's not a big signal. I wouldn't overread into that. Japan had a massive real estate bubble in the 1980s. And when that popped, they responded by not allowing things to reset, but by instead doing one of the greatest government debt money printing programs of all time to create an economy that is essentially like a propped up zombie economy. This is the yen to USD. You'll notice it's at essentially all-time lows, man. It's doing horrendously. And that's with the dollar doing pretty bad this year. All this rising tourism is making people angry. We've talked about it before, but I saw, like right as I get here, that the current Prime Minister of Japan, Takaichi, is leaning into it. She's talking about how, listen, foreigners kick deer in Nara. She once personally saw someone do it. People don't trace it back to the root cause. It all comes back to the 80s real estate bubble. That is the domino that leads to all this stuff way later on. One more crazy bit of Japanese news. So speaking of Takaichi, she was asked a question about Taiwan, and she's like, if China ever invaded Taiwan, we'd have to get the Japanese military involved. The Chinese ambassador, this guy, he looks pretty friendly, right? This guy goes fucking apeshit. He says, that filthy neck that barged in on its own, I've got no choice to cut it off without a moment's hesitation. Are you prepared for that? He threatens to behead her. Okay. Chatters, viewers, there's a lot of problems in this country, but there's one problem that is bigger than them all. There's one thing we have been asking for and begging for over and over again, and I mention it. It's the core root of a lot of discontent, a lot of angst in this country, and it's housing. People, especially young people, feel like they can't get a place to call their own, and that used to be a very stabilizing thing for society. Again, the average age of a first-time homebuyer when I was born in 91, dear God, I'm old, was 28. 28 at the time. Now it's 40. So it's gotten way worse. And finally, our great president, Donald J. Trump, has a plan to fix it. And it's called the 50-year mortgage. Released with this great Truth Social post, housing costs have gotten too expensive. People can't afford even the loan to get these houses because the monthly payment is too high. And so the market is starting to get wobbly. People can't keep up with these payments and prices will have to come down. But prices coming down is yuck. Our system can't handle prices coming down. We don't want prices to coming down. So what is the solution that we've always gone back to time after time after time again in this country? It's called subsidized demand. All we have to do is find a way to increase people's ability to borrow and spend so that we can keep prices up. If you can't afford a 30-year mortgage payment, well, then we'll spread it out over 50 years so that your monthly payment is smaller. You're in debt for longer and you're paying way more interest. The average US housing cost, $400K. So on that average house, if it went from a 30-year mortgage at current mortgage rates to a 50-year mortgage, you would save about $300 a month in payments. And the only downside is that by the time you're done paying it all off, you will have paid an additional $400,000 in interest. But when you're doing 50-year, you're not paying $863K just in interest on a $400K house. You are essentially in debt slavery for your entire life. But it is so transparently not how people want to live or what they want their life to be like. So Trump is also proposing a $2,000 stimmy check funded with, I guess, the tariff revenue. This would be more than they've made on all tariffs. And they've already spent the tariff revenue on other things. And also, the tariffs might be knocked down by the Supreme Court. The only way this money is coming from is debt. Like the government's going to borrow it because we don't actually have it from tariff revenue. I want to kind of sum this up in a key phrase that is the core of my content for years now, which is Whether it's Trump, whether it's Republicans, whether it's Democrats, whether it's a different country and your own, if you're living in a different country and it's your own government, somebody somewhere is going to have to take the pain. We are getting to comical levels of can kicking that is not, each individual one has less and less effect and more problems, more and more side effects. It all comes back to the government's complete inability to allow voters to take pain, specifically boomer voters. What is this?
Another one thing with gold.
Why not
You
silver?
you can't imitate gold, real gold. There's no paint that imitates gold.
It looks terrible. I've been saying it, but it does feel like after all the things, whether it's like the ice raids or whatever, just him constantly being surrounded by gold, talking about other countries and building the ballroom in a month where things are really bad for affordability is doing worse damage to his numbers than anything else. Nobody wants to wave the MAGA flag around when they see him say affordability is not a thing, it's a hoax, in front of a giant fucking wall of gold. I did that interview with Bill Morland. It's still not up, I apologize. But Bill Morland is a bank regulator. He used to work as a risk officer at a major bank. He would look at the bank's books to make sure they were not taking undue risk with their loans. And he said this is how banks think about debt. You are a cup. And what they want to do is fill you up just to the brim with debt. What they want to do is they want to have your $700 car payment. They want you on a credit card. They want you on a mortgage. They basically want to fill this up exactly to the brim. And then he said, if you're really good at the job, if you want to get promoted, you have to find a way to make it bubble over just a little bit without spilling. They need to make sure that every available dollar that you have that can go to a monthly recurring payment is going to it. And it really is horrifying. It bakes in all this risk to our economy. If this changes at all, you have no wiggle room. And the only reason that the banks can do this is that they expect to get bailed out if shit goes wrong. If you have seen The Big Short, you may know Micheal Burry. He has been off of social media for a while now. Recently, he got back onto X.com, aka Twitter. His username was Cassandra Unchanged. Cassandra, again, a reference to the woman who was cursed to know the future, but no one would believe her. And he posted this one. Sometimes we see bubbles. Sometimes there's nothing to do about it. Sometimes the only winning move is not to play, which is something that I would agree with. But then right after, it was revealed that he is playing. He has made a massive $100 million bet, $1 billion option against Palantir and Nvidia. And I barely covered this because like that's his bet. There could be some truth to it. He's had good performance overall. Maybe it'll work out. But then Micheal Burry came out with a new tweet that I think is actually really interesting. Understanding depreciation by extending useful life of assets artificially boosts earnings. One of the more common frauds of the modern era. He's like openly declared war against basically Nvidia, Palantir, and the entire AI bubble. Now let me explain what the fuck he's talking about. You have a hot dog stand. If you're a hot dog stand, let's say you make 20K. That's what you made on your hot dog stand this year. Now let's say this stand costs 30K. So in year one, if you subtract the cost of your stand, the day-to-day cost of doing business is like $5,000. So normally you'd make 15K profit, but you had to buy the stand. So that was 30K. So you lost $15,000. But in a normal year, like next year, you're really profitable. So what you want to do is spread the cost of this big fixed item over a number of years. So what you're supposed to do is you spread the cost over what is called the useful life of the item. 10 years for this hot dog truck. So instead of $30,000 minus this year, it's minus $3,000. With GPUs, what Micheal Burry is saying is that they have lied about how long they will last. He's saying that these companies have bought GPUs and on their books, they are depreciating them over more years than they will actually last to make this number smaller and make the profit seem good. And he's pointing to a real example. This is how long different companies have been saying on their books that the compute will last. In 2020, they said it would last 3 years at Meta. Now they say 5.5. Now, why did that change? Meta accounting move on AI servers to boost profit this year. Totally underreported story. Now, what I'll say is it's possible they do. It's quite possible that you can get a more of a useful shelf life out of a GPU than we thought. But if it can't, Jensen Huang joked and said, hey, once the new GPUs come out, the old ones you can't even give them away. They are finding that they can't charge the same price on these old GPUs. Now, whether or not his fucking puts will pay off, I have no idea. Because after Burry shorted Palantir, the CEO of Palantir lost his fucking mind.
I mean, I'm currently in a battle with, short sellers, but they have to short arguably the best company in this country and in the world by any metric.
We will turn like what your company is worth into a fucking mission statement political issue, or like what your beliefs are. It's about how much money you make. You are worth 500 times what you actually make on a day-to-day basis.